live. What's going on? I'm at home right now, chilling in the office that is mine. It's my parents, and they let me use it. But it looks pretty cool. It's pretty nice in here. And I really just I miss you guys. We're going on almost what feels like 5 million years where we haven't been able to meet as a youth group, and it just it's not right. Um, so what we wanted to do, the reason we're asking these questions and having you guys respond in our Instagram story is because we want to hear from you. We want to be able to kind of get feedback because we don't get that when we don't have life groups. So that's what that whole thing's for. And once again, I have Joe Lapenna. He's in the waiting room for us, and we're going to bring him in. And we have 4 really solid questions that we're going to go through together and just kind of hash out. So if it's a question that you asked or something that maybe relates to you in your life, it's going to be really great. So pay attention. And here he is. Joe Lapenna is joining in right now, and we'll get started. There he is, the legendary Joseph Lapenna.
Wow, that is way too crazy. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing all right. How are you doing?
Doing good, doing
Good,
good.
good. Yeah, I was just telling him we're at home because it's Saturday night. Busy week, man. Like busy week at the church. I'm sure you had something lots. I know you had lots going on over at a Drum Creative. But it's what's really great is you still took time out of your evening to spend time with me and kind of go over these questions, which really just shows the commitment that you have to these kids, which is super awesome.
Oh,
Um,
hey,
and I'm grateful for that. I know they're grateful. Seniors that have been in your group in the past and kids that are looking forward to being in your senior group in the past are super excited, and we're super grateful for all you do and who you are.
oh,
So first things first, thank you very much.
you're welcome, Dawson. And I'm excited. I'm excited to be a part of it, man.
Yeah, man, it's pretty great. So we're gonna go ahead and get right to it. Like I said earlier, you guys sent in some questions because we really just wanted to get some feedback from you. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen so you guys can see the questions with me. Um, yeah, let's get after it. Don't look at that. That is not supposed to be there. That was from last week. Let me see
Hmm.
if I can get there we go. Much better. So those questions were from last week. Don't worry. So first things first, I think we have four questions that we have lined up for today. And we're just going to kind of tackle them as we go. The first question is, what do I do with the sin that I'm fighting? Like what do I do when I'm in a sin? I'm stuck, like they're stuck in this sin, can't get out of it. They obviously want to get some help or they're trying to get out of it. So what are the way I read this question is like, how do I practically deal with this sin that I'm fighting and I'm battling against?
So,
Uh,
what you
yeah,
have?
Joe, I'm gonna let you go ahead and jump on this one first.
Oh, fantastic. Okay, well, this is a very good question. And I guess I want to start off with letting you know that, or just reminding everybody that sin is a battle. We're in a spiritual warfare. The Bible talks about how the devil is like a prowling lion, and he wants to seek and destroy us every step of the way. And you know, I I was encouraged when I read Paul, and he talks like in Romans 17:18-19. He goes, "For I know that nothing good dwells in me, that is, in my flesh. For I have the desire to do what is right, but do not have the ability to carry it out.
Mhm.
For I do not do the good I want, but the evil I do not want is what I keep on doing." And now, and I call those the do verses,
Right,
because I mean, Paul is literally wrestling with himself. And we are talking about the man who wrote over half the New Testament.
right, yeah.
And, here he's fought this battle. And so just know that you're not the only one who's battling that. I struggle. I feel like sometimes, why can't I have victory in this area? And then, you got to kind of think of, okay, so what are some practical things that I can do? um and I guess just remember that you're not a bondage to sin. You know that's what Jesus did for us. We know, like, in Romans 6:6, We know that our old self was crucified with him in order that the body of sin might be brought to nothing, so that we would no longer be enslaved to sin.
Mhm.
And I guess when we're talking about practical things, I think the big thing that I lean on is to flee from it. Sometimes, and actually when it comes to like sexual immorality or pornography or something like that, the Bible's very, very specific about fleeing from sin. Now, I don't know that this is the case with this question, but when it comes to sin itself, and you know that you're going to do something wrong, stop yourself and call out to God. Pray. Take a moment and just pray and say, Lord, help me fight this right now. I can't do this alone. You have to realize you cannot do it alone, not on your own. There's just no
Mhm.
way. And we just have to fight that temptation.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I think I heard, I don't remember who said it, but it kind of stuck with me. And it was, the person said like the inverse of sin is honesty, which really like everyone says, no, the inverse is lying, and which is also a sin, by the way. But I think he went on to explain like any sin that you have, if you're honest with yourself about it or with people around you that you trust about it, it makes it easier to fight. Um, so I agree. Like there are some sins where the Bible talks about just fleeing. Like if you're struggling with sexual immorality, pornography, turn and run. Go find a place that is safe for you to go. And I think one of the things that, like you were saying, like to say no or to fight against it, you have to be very honest with yourself and just realize, like, hey, what I'm doing is wrong. It's something that would make God and Jesus and the Holy Spirit disappointed in who I am and what I'm doing. And it's like that's huge. And I think another practical aspect of that is just an accountability partner that can do life with you, not just the hard questions, but sometimes like, hey, I lied to my parents this morning. I feel guilty about it, or I lied to my parents and I don't feel guilty about it. And having that person that can look at you and say, hey, look, you've got to go make this right in some way, and being able to be honest with that person and trust them to be honest and loving towards you, even if it's a difficult conversation, makes fighting that sin 10 times easier. Because like Joe was saying, like we're fighting a war. We're in a warfare against sin, and the devil tries to deceive you in the fact that you're by yourself. It makes you feel like you're alone in this sin, when in reality you're the exact opposite. Everybody that has ever lived, ever will live on the face of this earth is going or has sinned.
Mhm.
And they probably struggle with the same sin you're struggling with. So having that feeling of I'm not by myself and I've got people at my back makes it so much easier to fight that sin. Even though it's difficult, it's going to be difficult to have those honest conversations, but they're super necessary. And it's what changes it from I'm stuck in this sin to I'm getting out of this sin. So I think that's a lot like you were talking about in Romans has a ton of verses about fighting sin and realizing that you're not alone in it. For example, James 3 verse 2, I have like this web page pulled up and it's got verse after verse after verse talking about um, being connected and how, like, what does the Bible say about fighting sin. And the first ones that talk about is, again, James 3:2. It says, for we stumble in many ways, someone does not stumble in what he says. He is perfect, and he is a perfect individual, able to control his entire body. But the first part of that verse is huge, because it says, for we all stumble. So it's basically saying nobody's going to be perfect. They can't control their entire body as well. Like it's not, you don't get that. So everybody stumbles, everybody sins. Verse 1 John verse 1:8 says, if we say that we have not sinned, we are deceiving ourselves and we're not being truthful with ourselves, which, like we said earlier, lying is a sin. So if you look at yourself in the mirror and said, I've never sinned before, you've just lied, and there you are sinning again. Romans 3, it says, as it is written, no one person is righteous. So like I said earlier, the devil tries to lie to us, saying like, you're on your own. This is you. It's you against the entire army of darkness, and you're not getting out. Like, you're on your own, and that can feel scary, and it can feel like, well, what do I do? Which is where I think this question is coming from, and I think that's huge, just to kind of recognize that we're not on our own. And that's something that's really helped me, especially recently. I got a buddy of mine who he's my roommate, and he and I are each other's accountability partners. We get in touch with each other like once or twice a week and just be bluntly honest. Like, hey man, I
Mm.
struggle today with this. I've struggled with this temptation. Could you be praying for me? Or we'll call each other out. Like if I see him doing something that I know is not going to benefit him, I'm able to have that difficult conversation with him in a respectful way, and he's able to do the same for me as well. So I think a huge piece of being practical and fighting that sin is honesty and accountability. So that I think that's where that's my 2 cents there.
Hey, I want to throw something out. So you love soccer.
Absolutely,
You're a goalkeeper. You've done a lot of training over the years.
I have.
Just quite a few.
Yeah,
You
just
played
just enough.
soccer all your life and all of that. And when you go to a game, the opponent, let's imagine that the opponent is sin, and you're going to battle against them. And when they're taking shots at you, and every time that ball's coming at you, you're blocking them off and you're shooting, hitting them away. Or if use another analogy, like say for example, a lot of us parents, older people, want to lose weight. We're getting older, the old flabs kicking in and all that stuff, and so we want to diet. And so our battle is going to be against eating food that we shouldn't be eating, or going to getting a burger, or going and getting Chick-fil-A every day or something like that. Nothing wrong with Christian chicken, but it is fried food. So you're battling that every day. Well, the Bible, in Hebrews, it talks about running the race. And in Titus, I love these verses 2:12 through 13. When you're trying to lose weight, or you're playing in a soccer game, playing in a sport, you train for that moment. You train to fight in that battle. Well, Titus 2:12 through 13 talks about that same idea. It says, training us to renounce ungodliness and worldly passions,
Mhm.
and to live self-controlled, upright, and godly lives in the present age, waiting for the blessed hope, the appearing of the glory of our great God and Savior, Jesus Christ. You know, we're training. And so I have 10 out of 10 seniors who have told me that when they started out their day diving into God's word, reading scripture, the day went better.
Yeah.
Um, they didn't struggle as much. They found that anything that was thrown at them, they were able to deal with a little bit better.
Yeah, I think that's huge. Like you said, like you're training for it. So like for example, I'm not gonna go jump on a football field and claim that I could be a linebacker because I get crushed, or a quarterback and I get crushed by these huge linemen. But there are people who train their whole lives to play quarterback or linebacker, and they know what they're doing. And same goes the other way. Like if we're not training for it day in and day out, we're not gonna be ready for it when it comes.
That's
I think
right.
that's great, Joe. That's awesome. It's really huge. So kind of progressing to our next question. This one was pretty good. It said, I know there's someone in my life that's not healthy for me. I don't want to leave them high and dry. Um, so I think that's like them saying like, I'm not in a healthy relationship with person A, whether that's a dating relationship or friendship. But person A is not in a healthy relationship with person B, and they want to kind of cut it off or drop it, but
Mhm.
they don't want to leave them high and dry. So I was curious as what I thought this was huge, especially for, high schoolers, middle schoolers, someone's like, you're always in adults, you're always in relationships with people. Some are good, some are bad. I think we touched a little bit on that last week. Um, but I was just curious as what you thought about this one.
Um, I know there's someone in my life that is not healthy for me, but I don't want to leave them high and dry. So I guess there's this concern about leaving them high and dry because you know that with it being an unhealthy relationship, you know that it's going to impact you negatively. Um, you know, I have to say that I guess let's just kind of start on the practical side of when if you feel like there's an unhealthy relationship, it's important to be careful, I guess, in those moments. Um, you don't want to leave them high and dry. So maybe you're not going and doing the things that they want to go do. Um, maybe And I guess when you're making those type of decisions, you're staying true to who you are. Um, they know that you're a believer. They know that you're not even judging them for what they're doing. Maybe you want to be that good friend, you want to say something, but at the same time, you're not judging them. And so when it comes to a relationship like that, sometimes just being still and being quiet um, is a good thing to do. Just kind of back off and just wait on the Lord, pray for them, let God do the work. Keep in mind, you will never be Jesus Christ to anybody. You can't. Only Jesus can be Jesus to
Hmm.
them. And so when it comes to, a friendship or a relationship, boyfriend, girlfriend, or just even friend that, is my buddy or something like that, um, sometimes it is just kind of taking a little bit of a back seat and just asking God to do the work. I don't know what leaving them high and dry really means. I don't know if there's a circumstance there that, oh, well, now I'm going to leave them hanging. Well, if you're leaving them hanging because what they want you to do is something you shouldn't be doing, then go leave them hanging high and dry.
Yeah.
Because you don't want to put yourself in a place where you give up something that you've committed to the Lord to say, I'm not going to do these things. Um, you got to have a little bit of a backbone when it comes to stuff like that and be able to say, uh, you know, hey man, I just can't, I can't
Yeah.
come with you. I can't go do that. Or whatever. So I hope we're addressing that. Um, it's kind of feels little like, I don't know if I'm addressing it exactly the way it should be done there, but that's a tough one.
Yeah. I think, and I agree, this is a super tough one. When I think the fact that it's not healthy is a good sign. I don't know who wrote this. Again, it's anonymous.
Hmm.
I hope you're watching, but I think if you know it's unhealthy, that's a good sign. I think that's you reading the red flags in the relationship. Again, boyfriend, girlfriend, best or not best friend, whatever the relationship looks like reading those red flags is a good sign. I think Joe's right. Like you don't have to if they're asked like if it's a situation like if this is a situational question, they're like, hey, let's go do this, and that goes against the moral grounds that the Lord set for us, then yeah, leave them high and dry. If it's more of a if it's more of like a overarching kind of like a this person's not good for me, I don't want to just drop them. Like I think the term now is ghosting. Like I don't want to just ghost this person that I've built this relationship with. I think Joe's right. You kind of take that back seat and stand firm on where you find your morals and where the Lord says we're supposed to be. Um, and if they don't agree with that, that's not on you. I think that's like when we're following the Lord, we're supposed to follow Him 24/7, not when it's 24/7, and that includes on a Friday night, Saturday night when they're like, hey, let's go do this, and you're like, well, maybe that's not the best idea. I think so. Here's an example. When every year we get some at our school, we get some recruits that come for an ID camp, which is just a way for them to come play in front of the coaches, kind of get their name out there, so they can go to a school at some point. And each time we do this panel where these incoming freshmen, or maybe they're like juniors in high school, are asking questions to current college athletes. And one of the pieces of advice I always give them, and I'm going to give it now, is you have to have the ability to say no, which is super difficult. No one wants to be the person that's missing out, or FOMO, I think is fear of missing out. Like no one wants to be that person, or the person that ruins the fun, or the buzzkill, or whatever it is. But the ability, and I said to them, like when I'm saying like the ability to say no, like no, I can't go do this because I have practice, or I can't go do this because I have a game later, or no, I can't, no, I don't want to eat this pizza and drink this soda because I got to stay hydrated and eat healthy for my team. I think that translates to us. Like if someone's saying, hey, come do this, and it goes against your moral grounds, you just have to say no. As difficult as that can be. And I think going along with the last question, training yourself to be able to stand firm in what the Lord asks of us is super important.
Mm.
So yeah, again, I think that's a great question. I hope we answered it the right way. I know it's very open-ended kind of a question, and it's not an
I-
easy question to answer. It's not an easy question to ask either.
And I think it'd probably be safe to say that we're not answering your question. And you feel like you want to come chat with one of us or contact one of us, man, we would love to talk to you if
Absolutely,
we're
yeah.
missing the mark here, for sure.
Yeah, I think like you were saying earlier, it might be situational. So if you don't mind sharing the background of this, we can give a more accurate answer for sure. But I think just looking at it as it is and what we're seeing right now, I think those are the steps you should be looking into for sure.
Cool.
All right. Question number 3. I really like question number 3 because it's from one of our life group leaders that kind of chimed in. And I really like that. Says, I'm a leader. I'm having trouble getting in touch with my life group kids. And I think this goes to just about all of our life group leaders because no matter how good our kids are at being on their cell phone, I've found that it's very difficult for them to respond to a group chat or like a message in group me. Joe, I'm assuming you're struggling with this just based on your reaction. So I'm gonna let you take it away because you are life group leader himself. So I'm sure you're living it. So yeah, information, ideas for the life group leader.
uh I know every life group leader will echo what I'm saying. Like, we have this amazing device. It's incredible, in the sense that we have the entire internet on it. We can reach out and contact people via voice by making a phone call. We could send a text message. We can send a group me. We can send a Facebook message, an instant messenger, an Instagram message, um, Slack, email, good gravy. I just named 10 different
Nice.
forms of way of communicating with somebody, and yet crickets.
Yeah.
Um, and all I can, I guess the big thing I could say, and maybe like the whole trouble getting in touch with kids, maybe it's not necessarily this. Maybe it's like I'm a life group leader and I feel like I come on a Sunday night and did I make any impact at all tonight? And I just want you all to know you are making an impact if it's that kind of trouble getting in touch. Um, but if it is the I try to text them, I try to do all this stuff. Um, at the end of the day, you're doing what you can to get in touch with them. And all I can say is if there's a kid watching this and our life group leader is reaching out to you, do us a favor and don't be a flake and actually respond. I think that would be extremely helpful to all of us. It's kind of, I mean, the fact that somebody is actually willing to take the time to reach out to you is huge. I mean, I didn't have, we didn't have cell phones back then. So
Back in ancient times, huh?
back in ancient days, we didn't even have cell phones.
Our cell
Um,
phones were bricks.
that's right. Hey man, when the phone rang, we actually ran to the wall
Mm.
and
And it
we
was
picked it
connected.
up and there was a cord that was connected to it and we could only go so many feet.
And you couldn't detach the cord like
No,
you
you could
can
not
now.
detach the cord. And then and we always got excited. Like when the phone rang, it was like, hello, Lapenna residence. Oh, mom.
Yeah.
That was usually it. But yeah, I mean, man, we had it's like we've got this device and we just don't know how to use it. So it is really hard to get in touch with life group kids sometimes. I'm going to just say this: set the ground rules up front as a leader, and say, if you're in group me, you need to find out who's in group me, and
Hmm.
then you need to require everybody in group me to respond.
Yeah. In
So if you're
some way.
in some way, you can heart it, you can give me a got it, give me a thumbs up, give me anything. I just need to know that you got it.
Yeah.
Or you're going to cause me to waste my time or take my time. I won't say waste my time. Let's use the words, I'm going to have to take my time out of the day to go seek you out and find another way to reach out to you. And that makes it really difficult. You don't want to make it difficult for others, do you?
No, that'd be
And
rude.
yeah, that'd be rude. So anyway,
Yeah. I think flipping through my Bible trying to find something that would kind of go along with this because this is a very practical kind of a question, like how do I get my kids just to respond if it's in life group, like I think this one's open ended as well. Like if we're in groups and you're trying to pull something from this kid and they're just not opening up, or if it's the COVID life groups that we've been doing and it's you having to send group messages or
Mm.
Facebook group chat, whatever it is, something along those lines. I think one of the verses that I came across was in Galatians 6, verse 9. This is the NIV version, if you care. It says, let us not become weary in doing good things, for at the proper time we will reap and harvest if we do not give up. And that really hit home, because I know, like I'm one of the 8th grade guy life group leaders, and like half of them have a phone, half of them don't, half of them have like time limits on when they're allowed. So like getting information from them is like pulling teeth from a cat, like it's difficult. But I think, like Joe was saying, like if you're sending messages out, you're doing your part. And I think if you continue to do that, that would be considered not growing weary. And it says in Galatians, like in time, you'll reap the benefits just as long as you don't give up. So I think just as a little touch of encouragement there, like it says it's biblical there, it says it right there in Galatians saying like, hey, don't give up, keep pursuing these people, like for you, the leader, keep pursuing these kids, because even if they're not answering, they're at least reading it. They're seeing the messages. They know like, hey, when things are going weird and we're not meeting in church, we're not meeting in life groups, I haven't seen this person in a couple months, but I'm still getting messages from them saying like, hey, I'm praying for you. How can I pray for you? How's life? Hey guys, how you doing? They're getting those messages, and that goes a long way, especially with middle and high schoolers, because they know they've got somebody in their corner that when crap hits the fan, they can turn to at any moment. Um,
And
so
yeah,
um,
let me add one more thing to that. Please know, leaders, that what you're doing, even though you may walk away one night from life group and go, well, that was a waste of time, or I don't feel like I connected with a single student, you really are.
yeah,
You have to know that you really are. They may not show it. That's probably because they're too cool to show it. But sorry, students, you all know what I'm talking about. Come on. I mean, I'm not trying to, but there is this, they will make an impact. I remember, I had a student come back after they graduated from college. They didn't put 2 words together the entire year. And I thought, man, I wonder if I ever impacted that person. And we grabbed lunch one day, or maybe it was breakfast, because he wanted to do breakfast from Wednesday morning Bible study. And so we grabbed breakfast, and he did not stop talking about what God was doing in his life and how God used me and this. And I was humbled and in awe, and just realized, okay, then God, you really are doing the work. And I'm just going to show up, and I'm going to no show grow all the time and just be there.
yeah,
So
I think that's huge. And again, like, don't grow weary. It's going to happen. And there's a well-known phrase talking about like some people plant a seed, some people water the seed, and some people just get to see it grow. You don't know which step you are. Maybe you're planting the seed, maybe you're watering, maybe you're reaping the rewards. But you are a part of that process. If you're speaking God into these lives, you're a part of that process, and that's huge. And it speaks volumes, because like Joe was saying, like kids are going to come back. You're gonna find kids that are gonna come back and just be like, thank you so much for all that you did for me. I didn't appreciate it then, but now looking back, I appreciate it like so much. I know I had someone in my corner. So don't grow weary. Let that be the life group leader COVID verse, is Galatians 6:9. Do not grow weary in doing good things.
I love it. That's great. Good job.
So this last verse kind of goes along with the first verse, just in a way of
Question?
fighting sin. This one talks about, I'm struggling with so much fear and shame. What do I do? And I think this is rather open-ended as well. I don't know if this is, I'm struggling with fear and shame of the sin that I'm committing, or just fear and shame as like general feelings. Again, if you ask this question, or if this is something you're struggling with, give us a call, so we can kind of get more context. We can answer your question a little bit better. But yeah, so like I think this really kind of relates to the first question, which was, I'll put it back up real quick. What do I do when I can't get out of the sin that I'm fighting? So I kind of think that kind of goes back and forth. Maybe it's a little bit of, I'm fighting the sin and I'm afraid of what might happen if I tell somebody, or I'm ashamed of what I'm doing. I think this is a great question to kind of finish up tonight on.
Yeah, that's a good one. Um, so yeah, I guess, there would be um, two kinds of shame that we would be thinking about here, or discussing. You have misplaced shame versus properly placed shame.
Hmm.
Misplaced shame would be if you're ashamed of the gospel. Like, don't be ashamed of the gospel. Never be ashamed of who you are in Jesus, or be fearful of that. And that can, you know what, quite frankly, in today's scenario and everything, sometimes actually being the Christian um, is taking a wrong political side, or taking it's there's just we're very cautious in what we want to say or what we feel like we should say. But you should never, ever, ever be ashamed of the gospel and what you believe. And so there may be a scenario where you run into that, especially when I talk to seniors and they're getting ready to go into college. You no longer are under mom and dad's roof. You're under your own roof. And now you're faced with a lot of stuff where you all, as freshmen in college, are being faced for the first time with independence.
Yeah.
And so I want to encourage you to never be ashamed of the gospel of Jesus Christ. Um,
Amen.
and Let me see. And I guess I'll just, like Mark 8:38, whoever is ashamed of me and my words in this adulterous and sinful generation, of him will the Son of Man also be ashamed, when he comes in glory of his Father with his holy angels. Um, let's see, if one suffers as a Christian, let him not be ashamed, but under the name, let him glorify God, always glorify Jesus. But let's kind of talk about the well-placed shame, which
Hmm.
is I've done something and now I know that
I'm in the wrong.
I feel ashamed of what I've done.
Yep.
um 1 Corinthians 15:34 says, come to your right mind and sin no more, for some have no knowledge of God. I say this to your shame. The thing is Jesus, you love Jesus. Um, the devil wants you to believe that you're no longer saved. The devil wants you to believe that you will never have victory. And you need to know that you can.
Hmm.
You can have victory in Jesus. All you got to do is cry out to him. And you have got to recognize your sin. That is the biggest thing. And if we don't recognize our sin, then really at the end of the day, you're just going to keep sinning. And really, I think you should probably actually ask the question, do I really love Jesus?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, do you have a relationship with him? But even if you struggle with so much fear and shame, um, and again, if it's tying to the first question that we were talking about, um, you have sometimes I think you just need to have a conversation and talk to somebody. Maybe talk to one of your leaders or reach out to Tim
Yeah.
or me or Dawson. We would love to talk to you and listen to what is the fear that you have? What is the shame that you're fighting? Um, because um, at the end of the day, you can have victory over that. And it's not going to be in yourself and in and of yourself. It's going to be through Jesus Christ.
Yeah. I think that's huge. And I think we would be we. I really want to address like the fear part of this, because I think that sometimes, like, if someone's reading this and maybe they see the word fear and they're like, I don't struggle with fear, I want to substitute the word fear for anxiety. Like,
Hmm.
I struggle with anxiety, or I struggle with depression, or whatever it is. And one of the verses that came straight to mind as soon as I read this question was in Luke 12 verses 22 to 24. And this is Jesus talking to his disciples, and he says, "Then Jesus said to his disciples in verse 22, 'Therefore I tell you, do not worry about your life, what you will eat, or about your body, what you will wear.'" Which verse 22, I think, is a call out not just to the disciples, but also to every single person now. Like, how many times people saying, "Oh, I don't like the way I look. I don't like the way I dress. I really wish I looked like this person. I really wish I had this person's muscles. I really wish I dressed like this or had enough money to buy these clothes." Like, I think that's Jesus saying, like, "Hey, this goes to you as well. Verse 23, it says, "For life is more than food, and the body more than clothes." Verse 24, "Consider the ravens. They do not sow or reap. They have no storeroom or barn, yet God feeds them. How much more valuable are you than the birds?" And that, I think that's it's like a double-edged sword, because part of it is like it's an uplifting feeling, but if you're struggling with this fear of, maybe I'm afraid of what happens next, or I'm afraid of what it's going on in my heart, like I think that's like it's uplifting, but at the same time he's kind of like calling you out, like you're God's child. He loves you more than the birds that he takes care of, and they don't fall from the sky unless he says it's okay. And he's going to take care of the people that are made in his image significantly more than a raven. And just a little context there, ravens were obviously birds, but in biblical times, ravens were not exactly the cleanest of birds, and people kind of saw them as a symbol of death. And this is Luke saying, like, Jesus saying, like, God's taking care of even the most undesirable of birds. And how much more is he going to care for the ones that he died for? He sent his son to die for. So I think I really wanted to address that part about the fear. If that word substitutes to anxiety or depression for you, or whatever that word may substitute for, I think this verse is super uplifting. And I think you answered the shame part of it really well. Sometimes it's a well-placed shame, like I've sinned, I'm struggling, I've done something wrong, and I feel shameful for it. And I think the not well placed. I don't know how to say that. Words are hard. The shame that's placed poorly in I'm shameful about who I am, I think that needs to go out the window. Find someone to talk to, because like you're made in the image of God. He's made you exactly how you're supposed to be. Like, again, verse 22 in Luke 12:22 says, "Don't worry about your life, what you'll eat, about your body, or about what you wear." Like, don't worry about what you look like. That's not important. God doesn't care about what you look like. He cares about the heart and the eternity that we get to spend with him in heaven. That's what we need to be looking forward to and focused on. And again, like, if we didn't answer your question, which odds are we probably didn't answer it exactly how you wanted to, give us a call. If there's more context that we don't know about, again, like I know that little segment that you can type in is only so long. If there's something that we're missing, if you want to talk more about it, let us know. Please let us know. Like, if you have enough courage to send something anonymously to everybody, you're more than welcome. We'll keep it confidential, don't worry, but you're more than welcome to give us a call and really just kind of pick our brains about it, because that's what we're here for. We're here for you guys, and we're here to help you guys any way that and be of service to you guys in any way that we can.
Yeah. I would love to even get some feedback if this is even helpful to the students. Are we helping out in any way? You guys like what you're seeing? Make a comment below. Let us know. We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah.
Or we'll just stop doing it. I mean,
yeah, if no one's watching, that'd be unfortunate. But if even one person is watching, please comment. Please leave a like. Let us know that we want to be helpful. Again, we know this is not ideal. I'd rather be standing up in front of a bunch of 7th and 8th graders, smelling that middle school body odor, and preaching to you guys. And I know Tim would like to be in the high school room, and I know Joe wants to be in those in the breakout rooms where we do life groups, along with all of our life group leaders. Like, we want to be there. But these are the cards that we've been dealt. So if this is helpful, please let us know. If it's not helpful, don't let us know. That'd be really kind of be unfortunate. Ignorance is bliss, I feel like, but we hope you guys are enjoying this. I think we're about to run out of time on our little Zoom call time limit. So again, Joe, thank you so much for joining in. If we answered your question, awesome. If we didn't answer your question, but you have more questions, give me a call, give Joe a call. Send me an email if you really need to get in touch with me. My email is it's on the North Hills Church website. It's dawsonm@northhillschurch.com. Joe's is different, obviously.
If you need my number or email, you can reach out to Dawson. He'll give it to you.
There you go. I got you. So if you need anything, feel free. Please reach out. We love you guys. We miss you guys. Thank you so much.
All right. Thanks, Dawson.
Bye.